Everybody. I am Pat Epstein, Chair of the Equity Commission, and we have quorum, and it is 6:30. I apologize for calling it to order. I apologize for being a little late. I drove straight to the City Hall, and then I turned in the parking lot and I'm like, where is everybody? And I'm like, it's at the library. So I apologize.
And it will be at the library next month also.
I've got to just create, it's actually closer to me. They're both very close, but it's just
Much more scenic than the Justice.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're in Justice Center in November.
Okay, so we will get started. Citizens communication, do we have anyone here for citizens communication? Okay, we do not, so we'll go into the regular agenda. Item 3A, approval of the August 8th, 2022 meeting minutes. Did people have a chance to look over them? Any changes or anything?
No, I'll just make a motion to go ahead and approve them.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Second, we are very happy to have Robbie Craig here. She is the Director of People and Culture. And she is going to talk to us about the work in their department, bring us up to date, give us an overview. So I'll just turn it right over to you, Robbie.
Thank you so much. Good evening. I think I met each of you individually, but my name is Robbie Craig, and I am the People and Culture Director for the City of Pflugerville. I started in this position in January, so I still feel relatively new, but time is going by fast. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our P+C team and our City of Pflugerville employees. I've brought a few of our recent demographics, and then I'm happy to answer any questions you might have as well. I'll start by introducing you to our People and Culture team. We call ourselves P+C for short. Up in the left-hand corner, this is Kevin Connaughton, and next to him is Ashley Smith. They are our two human resources generalists, and on the left bottom row is Belinda Pena. She is our human resources specialist. And to her right is Diego Herron. He is the city's first risk and safety officer. He started with us in June. That's why his picture has a different background than the other ones. So this is our small team. I'm really proud of the work they've done this year. We really work collaboratively with everybody in the city. We want to create an environment that's going to help all of our individuals succeed and make the organization and the city a success. As with a lot of other cities in Texas this year, we've had a heavy focus on recruiting and retention. We want to make Pflugerville the best city in Texas to work. These are a few pictures from our events that our fun committee has organized. We try to get people together once a month to celebrate. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi. To tell you a little bit about what we do in addition to recruiting and hiring, and I'll spend a little bit more time on that later in my presentation. We promote the Pflugerville P First core values of positive, forward-thinking, integrity, resilience, service, and teamwork through our policies, processes, and committees. We analyze our benefits and compensation to create the most attractive compensation package for employees and applicants. We seek out areas for opportunity for training and professional development for our staff. We track compliance, including topics like EEO and harassment training for our employees. We work with our staff and managers through employee relations issues. We frequently review our policies and analyze what's needed to make our organization function best. A good example of that this year was that our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee was reviewing our handbook to remove any gender-specific pronouns. We're making it more gender neutral. We enjoy providing sponsorship and guidance to our Pflugerville employee-led committees, such as the Fun Committee that I mentioned earlier. They do events. We're starting up our safety and wellness committees as well, and P+C helps oversee those.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
This is a dumb question.
Sure.
I get that. I ask all of you to forgive me. Whenever you say gender neutral,
Yes.
what words are you using?
They, their, them.
Okay. So it is totally gender neutral.
Or like we changed the name foreman. We no longer use the word foreman because we have 4 women that are in foreman roles.
So what do we use?
Supervisors.
Oh, duh, okay, which makes perfectly logical
Or
sense.
team leads, or, yeah, but there's other
Okay.
ways.
Okay.
Yeah, so as we go through the work day or the work week, you know, and we find these things, we change them.
Well, what happens when you have to refer to someone in the singular?
They, or.
Oh,
sorry.
okay. We still do that,
Still
we're still,
there.
Or their
okay,
name.
okay. I will never get with that.
So,
Okay.
How does that interact, question, how does that interact or how does it work when you're dealing with other companies that are doing business within the city of Pflugerville?
That's a good question. I don't know that I would be the right person to answer it because in people in culture, I'm typically dealing with just our employees.
Your
So I interact a lot with the school district and the PCDC and the Pflugerville Employment Commission. But other than that, I would say I'm less interacting with the Pflugerville business community and more just with our employees.
What I was thinking specifically is if an employee came to you and said, hey, I'm an employee, I've had this incident or this, like I know working in the construction industry, it is just filled with, you know, just a lot of adjectives that are so male dominated that are, you know, not in some instances, I mean, they're just not politically correct.
Sure.
You know, I mean, so, I mean, that's as easy as I can say it. So just want to know how that would work out.
Sure, okay. And I think, you know, what we would encourage our employees, one, yes, let's talk through it. Let's try to see what we could do differently to not encourage that behavior. We certainly can't control how someone else speaks to us, but we can control our response. And I think we would talk through those. I believe probably the library has had issues with, you know, an angry member from the public. And we would just coach it along the same way to, it goes back to our resiliency value. But honestly, I have not, in my time here, and I don't know if you were here before when I said I've been here since January, so about 9 months, I have not had an example of that, of an employee coming to me. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about our hiring numbers. Just like the city of Pflugerville, our organization is growing. Since 10/1, the start of our fiscal year last year, we've hired 119 new employees. That includes full and part-time, plus an additional 130 seasonal hires to staff our fun camps and our aquatics programs during the summer. This was a very competitive and challenging year, and we were really happy that of our seasonal staff, we had 37 members return from last year to work with us again. Our current head count is approximately 481, with about 371 of those being full-time employees. In an effort to improve our onboarding experience for new employees, we've created an integrative plan to transition them through their first day, their first 30, 60, 90 days, to give them the resources they need to be successful on their job. We also continue to invest in our leaders so that they're equipped to handle those day-to-day interactions with employees and the public. The next few slides are a few of our current demographics. These are as of September 9th, and you'll see some pictures from our fun committee events as well. Currently, we are about 65% male and just under 35% female.
Question,
Yes,
any plans to balance that
we are.
better?
We
Or
are.
any explanation, actually it's two questions. One is like, why is there such a difference? Is it because of the particular jobs? And what plans are there to increase the female employees?
Sure. I think a lot of our positions do attract male candidates more than female candidates. You know, maybe in the public works area and some of our parks and recs. But as Serena mentioned, we just promoted our first female into a not formerly known as foreman position, supervisor. So I think that speaks to there just haven't been as many women in some of the departments. We do continue to recruit through Handshake is a very popular program for college students, and they post our jobs to target women and also minority groups, HBCUs. to get us more applicants in those areas.
Well, what about, I flipped through the slides, and what about in leadership roles? Does that demographic play out in the leadership roles in terms of like who's in charge of the departments and whatnot, or is that pretty, is there a different balance in that?
Unfortunately, I don't have those statistics. We're required to do EEO4 reporting as a city once a year, and the way that the EEO4 report is broken down, and the reason you don't have a copy of it is because when it comes out of our in-code payroll system, it's about 48 pages, this long, a lot of numbers. It basically puts a count in every category for male, female, every demographic, and over the course of 15 job functions. So I believe at one time it was requested if I could bring the data for technical, non-technical, and managerial, but our current systems don't allow us to track it in that way. We track it based on the federal reporting requirement, which breaks it into 15 functions such as finance, streets and highways, public welfare, police, sanitation, natural resources, health, employment security, and then other. So I don't have those demographics.
Be interesting, because I know several women that are in leadership positions, and we seem to have a really nice balance also from the ones that I've seen.
I feel like we
I did
do.
a hand.
Yeah, I was going to say we could just go through them.
Software, so.
Well, and once again, I think some of those would be kind of like, in all honesty, I'm not that interested in heading up Public Works. I'm not interested in being out on the lawnmowers. Digging ditches, but.
No, Public Works is a lot more involved in that.
Well, I know
though.
it is. My dad was actually director of public works for the great metropolis of City of
There
Childress.
is. We
Oh,
just
yes.
hired a female
So I'm very
project director for our capital improvement projects. So we do, our city engineer is a female. So we're working on it. And we definitely have a lot of ladies at the table, and I think Serena is one of the best advocates in speaking engagements. And when we're posting and recruiting too, I like to sit down with the hiring manager and I encourage them to, let us know what professional groups they belong to. So if we have women in leadership positions that are holding positions in their professional organizations, that's a great way.
Has there been any data collected to show like if there's been any change in that in the last, say, 3 years or so?
Unfortunately, that's what we do not have.
It'd be nice to be able to show we're growing and changing, which I suspect we are.
It is, and that is very important to me that we've come up with a system to track it better electronically rather than just the paper form that every new hire fills out on their first day that goes into a personnel folder and isn't looked at anymore. We are in the process of implementing a new ERP system, which is basically a fancy word for human resources and payroll system. And I believe it will have better capabilities to do that reporting of snapshots in time. And at least now, what
It
I've
would be good,
heard
like, to
today.
come back next year, we'd be able to see the difference between this year and
Sure,
next year, the
because
growth and whatnot.
trending is important.
Yeah.
But are you asking for a specific breakdown?
Yeah, I just like to see, what I like to see, like, okay, we have created the Equity Commission, which means that we have a value of equity in the community. And I would like to see that how we're addressing that in terms of hires and whatnot. Are we, right now you've got basically 2/3 male to 1/3 female. Does that number, those numbers, even if it's incremental, if there's change, that's showing that we're making progress in terms, and we're also, I'm assuming, making progress in terms of ethnicity, race, and everything like that. And so that's what I'd like to see also.
Sure.
So, which is what you're about to talk to us about.
And age.
Yes.
And age. Oh, God.
And so when you look at the race, we're 24.95% Hispanic or Latino, 57.59% white, 10.39% Black or African American, 3.3% Asian, 0.21% Native Hawaiian or Alaskan, 1.25% American Indian or Alaska, and there is a new category now of 2 or more races that employees can select, and that we had 2.29%
I like that.
self-select on that.
But it's more than that.
The biracial?
Yeah. We need to look at that compared to what our actual population is.
Yes, that was one of my.
It is very close. I was able to pull data from a website called Data USA. They dated theirs as 2019, but at that time, the Hispanic was 28%, white was 45%, Black or African American was 14.7%, and Asian was 6.9%.
I know Asians over 7% now.
And I thought the African American numbers were about 23% now in the
Yeah, I
city
do
of
too.
And it
Cities.
could be, like I said, that I have the website, but it did clarify that that was from 2019. So I'm sure our census has changed.
Like the school district was like 50%.
50-something percent in Hispanic in the school
But
district.
that's just the school
So-
district.
Change,
So
did you say 23?
Yeah,
Comment
that's
to it a little bit. I mean, I've studied demographics in other cities. I've worked in one city that is one of the most diverse cities in the United States, being Sugar Land. And I remember looking at their population of Indian and Asian, and it was very, very low in the city, but very, very high. I mean, in the city work, in employees, but very high in the city. And we were always challenged with that. And it's and really we would bring in leaders within their community and talk about it. I remember them saying, well, most Asians, and we're going to go ahead and stereotype, don't apply for police jobs. And here I am, Chief O'Malley. But for example, we have 2 Vietnamese police officers starting, a male and a female, starting this next month. But it's also, think about our candidate pool isn't often, to be frank, that diverse. And that's why we recruit in certain places now that we didn't.
And I don't expect it to match. I'm curious,
Because if we're doing a good job of getting somewhere close, or at least if we're putting the outreach out and everything and valuing that, I think that's important, so.
Absolutely. You did ask about some generation data. I will clarify, this comes from our employee navigator system, which only includes full and part-time employees who are eligible for benefits. I did not have it broken down like this in our payroll system, but you can see about 11% were born between 1946 and 1964, 34% between 1965 and 1980, 46% between 1981 and 1996, and 9% born after 1997 to present. What they're calling Generation Z.
Gen Z.
I went to a lecture association meeting myself last week, and they talked about what this breakout looks like generally in the U.S. Workforce, and that's very similar, that millennials have been the largest group for several years now.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It genuinely
Yeah.
should be, because the 11%'s dying off, the 9%'s brand new, you know, so.
Well, also, Gen X is a very small population.
Yeah, we're on our way out.
So I have another question
Sure.
about this, though. Is this used at all to inform, for example, like the benefits you offer? Or I'm curious how this information is used, if at all, or if it's just a reporting.
It's really not. I mean, you know, we're trying to make our benefits we're so competitive with all of the cities around us. We're really looking at comp and benefits from the perspective of how do we attract good quality applicants to our pool in general.
Before she started, we changed our benefits, actually, and I do believe to meet the millennials. When I first got here, we only offered one healthcare option for all employees, and it didn't make sense. So for example, I'm not in the millennial group, but I fit them kind of health-wise because I don't have dependents. And so we do like the high deductible plan. So we started cafeteriaing out health to hit those millennials that didn't want, and it's less expensive on the city than to do a PPO,
Right.
do that high deductible. So we
You have
changed
used it, yeah.
We changed it.
Speaking of, by any chance, would you happen to know off the top of your head how many of the positions have either remote work available as an option? Because when we're talking about millennials and Gen Z, that tends to be like a very big and valued perk to have.
boomers like it,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, we're like in the
I
back.
was actually about to comment on that.
Oh, great.
I don't have the specific number of positions, but I can say we have one of the most flexible telework and flexible scheduling hours compared to cities around us, as well as my background is I worked in the state of Texas government system for over 15 years. I worked for TxDOT, I worked for the Health and Human Services Commission and the Railroad Commission. And I can say we have a very progressive, that, it really is up to each department that if they can get their work done remotely, we have the technology capabilities to do it, and employees are given the option to have flexible scheduling. It also helps with our recruiting, that we're able to recruit people from outside of the area who can telework with us when we have a really hard position to fill. And then, like I said, changing those hours as well, really looking at work-life balance. We have a great family leave policy. I believe that's relatively new as well, 4 weeks of family leave for a birth or an adoption. So I guess I did answer that question incorrectly, because I think we're always looking at ways to attract not one specific group, but to appeal to all of them.
I have another question on that front. You mentioned being competitive with the cities around you. Do you all participate, and I don't even know if this is an option, in my day job, we have industry surveys where we benchmark, right, pay to say we're competitive based on data. What does that look like for you all? Are there surveys, or how do you know you're competitive?
It is. We have a bi-weekly HR work group that I think has maybe 80 cities from Texas in it, and every day I get an email from someone about a policy. How do you do this, or what are you guys doing for cost of living increases? So the HR community is very open and welcoming in the public sector. We frequently share our Pflugerville information, and lately we've had a lot of people asking us, what are y'all doing there? Which is a good sign that we're more the people that people are trying to keep up with, instead of trying to chase everybody else down. So I would say there is definitely an HR community online that we share. We have work groups. We have our TML conference every year, or excuse me, TXMHRA, Municipal HR Association for the state. So there's a lot of webinars and email groups where we share that type of information.
So is it more informal rather than a formal survey where you submit your data?
We also perform,
Yes.
and we do that on the regular, probably weekly. I talk to city managers probably more than I'd like. Then we do a formal 9-city comparison. I just did one for PD this past year, and we'll do non-sworn employees this year. And I think it's either 9 or 11 cities. So we actually hire a company to do a formal job survey.
Awesome.
Which cities are those?
Oh boy. So we had first, when I first got here. Yeah, but when I first got here, we kind of were looking just within Central Texas. And what I know about cities is we then went and picked like Pearland, one other one in North Texas, maybe Allen, kind of pick other suburbs of other cities to kind of get market, because we're Texas wide on our recruitment. We're global, really. I mean, I just hired somebody out of Washington State. So we didn't want to just look at Central Texas. And yeah, we're still behind Round Rock, Georgetown, Cedar Park. I could list quite a few. So the 9 we're using now, I'd be lying, but I think like San Marcos, maybe Round Rock.
Georgetown.
We had shirts in there for a minute, but that's another story. But we were trying to find population, because all cities are a little different on how they make their money. Some have, Georgetown has electric, that changes things. I just think they print money, but that's so right now, I don't remember the 9. We have changed them, and we ask our consultants, like, how does it best fit? So Houston region, Dallas region, Central Texas region, all within similar populations.
So is this survey annual?
It depends. So what I was trying to do is non-sworn one, yes and no. Yes, I do a survey every year, but I do different sets of employees. So that we did police this past year, implements October 1, then non-sworn this next year. And to be real frank, the way the market's going, and it's rapidly changing every 3 to 6 months, I can't wait that long anymore. Cities are making major changes mid-year on their pay, so I can't wait this long in the future.
Is it safe to say that you do the survey based on whatever needs the city has coming up next?
What do you mean?
Like if we're looking for a police chief, then you do surveys based on that?
No, I'm surveying really what we have on the ground now. And then if I'm looking for a position, so whenever the employees ask for the position starting October 1st, then we get to do all that market research before we hire. So yes, on new positions, but the main surveys I'm doing is typically for the existing positions. And we find where we're sometimes on, and more than that, we're we've been off and we've gotten a lot better.
You're always ahead of the curve, and I appreciate that.
So I have a question. How is cost of living taken into account? Because when you compare a suburb to Austin to a suburb to Houston, the cost of living is vastly
Sure,
different.
that's why there's only 2 cities in there out of that, so it's not
Right.
huge. I mean, I'm not saying we're gonna be exactly Frisco. Number one, I'd have to double my pay, for everybody. So yeah, like Frisco is gonna be way too expensive. So yeah, we take, I think, all of that into consideration. I mean, I can't compare to one city. You get an average, and then you get a band, and then you get a range, and then I gotta figure out how many years of service for that person. I mean, it's a lot more than saying, the IT director in Round Rocks makes 190,000, so we're gonna do that here. To be honest, I can't. So it's not as simple as just going city to city or job to job. It's a lot more thought is put into it. We go line by line, every single job.
The last thing on this point, because I know we're belaboring it, but like the development I'm seeing in the like industry side is around pay transparency. Like there's states that are pushing, I think Colorado and New York are two, and again, I'm talking industry, not municipalities or government, but pushing to share like what the actual ranges are for jobs. I don't know if that's gonna come in the public sector, but just share that with you, because I think that just lends more importance to the having the science, in the
Right.
process and
Well, on
data.
engineers, we were struggling along with the rest of Texas, building inspectors, engineers. We know certain jobs that we weren't filling. So we went and got the private market study for engineers, and we're competitive for engineers in the private sector, and we're still not getting them, but they're not either.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's
so
not
we
the
do look
data,
at
yeah.
private market studies as well, in specialized situations. I can't do that for
For
police
everyone,
chief,
yeah.
but for engineers, I can do it. For IT, I can do it. IT's kind of killing me because we're in Austin. So
Yeah.
the Austin market's going to pay higher IT than the Dallas market because I'm competing with Google and
Yeah, tech.
every other tech company that's in Austin. So it's wonky. We as a city, though, of course, this is all open to transparency. I mean, you can call in and get any pay. So we're happy to share in our industry pay ranges. That's a common sharing.
We get open records requests all the time.
All the time.
For that type of
Oh, that's true.
information.
Yeah, it's open.
I don't have to deal with
That's
that,
why
thank
the
goodness.
HR professionals share it so frequently too, because somebody could formally request it through an open record.
Got it. Thank you.
This slide has an asterisk on it. Veterans, 8.75%. I believe our number of veteran employees is actually much higher than this. Prior to me coming on at picture, as you came on your first day, you filled out the EEO form, which include veteran status. It goes into your personnel form. Nobody was capturing that information into a computer system. So short of going through every personnel file to get our veteran number, we've been tracking it for about the last year and a half on that form into an electronic system, as well as looking at our applicants that are coming in, because that's a question on the application. So I was talking to Chief O'Malley earlier. I believe our police department number alone has a higher percentage of veterans than this. So we're working to get that number accurate, and now we'll be able to maintain it. But for the data that I was able to pull from our payroll system currently, just because this wasn't being tracked up until about a year and a half ago. Okay, recruiting strategies. We're already looking forward to 2023. This has been a big topic of conversation in 22, and we anticipate a continued heavy focus on retention and recruiting. We've partnered with our Chamber of Commerce and the PCDC Friends to participate in local job fairs geared at both high school students and citizens of all ages. We utilize a website called Handshake to advertise our job postings to HBCUs. This is very popular on college campuses. You can even schedule an app that a college student can download, search for jobs. So it's a way for us to get our postings out to a broad audience. Applicant Pool, our current application system, also posts our jobs to multiple websites, Indeed.com, the Texas Workforce Commission. When posting, we also work with our hiring managers, as I mentioned earlier, to share their professional organizations. A lot of those sites charge for posting, but we're upping our budget in those areas to do targeting recruiting for, people like engineers are very difficult. I also encourage managers to share their posting on their LinkedIn page so that it's getting out to their network. And I work with our communications department to at least once a month put some of our harder to fill jobs on our city LinkedIn page. In May this year, we started advertising jobs. We started with our seasonal hires in the Community Impact newsletter. That reaches a lot of people here in the Pflugerville and Hutto community. Upon budget approval, we are going to build on our relationship with Pflugerville ISD to start an apprenticeship program that will provide students to gain real world work experience and get credit, and hopefully that it differs from an internship in the sense that it really is to be, a career path into the city, not just, 3 months that they put on their resume. We'll continue to have interns as well, but the apprenticeship will be a really new program, and we're really excited to partner with them.
Go ahead.
Yes.
So when you mean apprenticeship, do you mean like, for example, like the police department, like maybe opening paths and encouraging students to, follow these certain specific careers where the city needs them, or trying to fill in gaps?
Yes, so for example, we have not identified exactly which departments will host apprenticeships, but I'm working with the ISD right now to identify their career and technology programs, the educational tracks they already have that matches with needs. For example, mechanics in our fleet department. There are programs within Pflugerville ISD that students are learning those skills. So we would try to match the programs and the students with opportunities to grow within our city. And I think, engineering will be one of those. We have upped our tuition reimbursement program this year as well. So, we would like to start recruiting at those younger age and help them get their education as well as, so they want to work for us.
We're thinking more like water, so we haven't shown you all the numbers. You may not know what all the city departments are. I think sometimes people are kind of amazed by that. So Public Works being the largest. When I use the word Public Works, though, we don't really have a department called Public Works. I'm just broad brushing. So it's really water distribution and water plant, wastewater on the collection side, and that wastewater plant. What I hope to see is young people on that technical side start learning the great industry of water and wastewater. We also have an electrician. We have fleet. We have needs for welding. So there's quite a few technical roles for non-college bound students that can engage in. I wasn't really even thinking police, to be honest. It was more water, wastewater, CIP, inspections, streets, those things.
So I have a question. My question is twofold. Number one, are you partnering with other cities like Austin? Because I know Austin has a program where their fire department is working directly with high school students and kind of bringing them in and training them with based on graduation and achievement of certain other matrices. They would hire them after graduation. So I'm wondering, are you doing that first and foremost? Are you partnering with other cities to see what they're doing and seeing if you can kind of duplicate those efforts? Yeah.
Not at this time. We've really been focused on the organizations in the Pflugerville community and reaching out to those people in our area. I'm certainly not opposed to it, and that could be how we expand when we need some ideas. But we are working with our local organizations as well.
And before I ask the second question, let me qualify. Everything's not a complaint. Sometimes it's just a suggestion that this is what you can think about doing in the future. My second question kind of relates to are you actively going out, because you're doing a lot of things, and I know that this is a computerized world, you're doing a lot of things doing the website, but when you go to minority community or a minority sees Pflugerville and has never been to Pflugerville, honestly, they're not really interested in coming to Pflugerville because it doesn't sound like a place where there are a lot of minorities present. So, I'm just wondering, what's your outreach? Are you having more physical outreach? Are you going to colleges, ACC, or some of the HBUs in person on some of these job fairs?
At this time, we have not. Our in-person career fairs have all been in the Pflugerville community and area. I would love to expand our college recruiting. I'll go back to that first slide where right now we have 4 people, including myself, doing the HR work. We don't have a full recruiting team, so we don't have that presence. Like a bigger organization might have recruiters that all they do is go around to colleges and attend job fairs every week. So no, the physical events that we've been to have all been in this community, as well as we participate in a big veterans career fair up in Killeen.
And let me make sure I heard that right, James, because we may disagree on that. You believe that people don't want to work here because they don't think it's diverse?
People in Central Texas know about Pflugerville.
I don't know what you mean by know about Pflugerville, because
They-
when we interview people, they are like, they
But
want
I
to be
mean,
here and see
in
this.
Central Texas, I'm just saying, like, if you are from other areas, if you are from, you may not know about. I know people in Dallas who did not know about Pflugerville till I came here. I know
Yeah, but
people
they may
in
not, but
Houston.
I wouldn't say they're not coming here because we're not diverse.
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay, I was like,
I'm saying that,
ours
are
are
we
like-
actively, when you talk to somebody,
Yeah.
at least
They talk
in my
about diversity.
generation, when you talk to people versus Texan folks, you get more of an understanding of what they're about and what they're doing.
I targeted
when you-
recruited our CIP director
Right.
that's a woman of color from a city that she was thrilled to come here because of our diversity.
And
So it was like, they
I
wanted me here.
understand.
I think what James was saying is that and it's true, I don't, like, in the beginning, before I moved to Pflugerville, I'll be honest with you, I did not know the city was as diverse as it is, and I lived in South Austin, okay, Southwest Austin.
I guess they're doing their homework.
And so, you know, no,
Yeah,
but my point being that, and I think James's point is how do we, I mean, when I discovered how diverse it was, that's literally the reason my husband and I chose to move here over the other places we were looking. And so the point's more about promoting who we are as opposed to, you know, because a lot of people, we're starting to get known as a city that's on the move. I mean, that's obvious, a
I
lot.
would say in
but-
city world, in Texas City, we're highly known. So that's
Well, there-
surprising
but-
to me.
yeah, that's
Like,
why
we
you're-
have
yeah.
people
Yeah.
like really
Yeah.
wanting to be here.
Yeah,
So
I think
it's-
that promoting our diversity is a big thing that we can
It
probably do
draws.
even more so. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I would just say, I want to be here because I'm here.
Right.
So, I mean, we know that diverse people want to come here who know about Pflugerville. But when I talk to some of my friends who are outside of Pflugerville, and I tell them, they say, I was going to send you something, but where's Pflugerville? You know, what is Pflugerville? You know, especially a lot of my friends in Chicago, where is Pflugerville? You know, and you get that same deal. You know, so I understand. I'm not downgrading Pflugerville by any source or stretch of the imagination. I just want to make sure that, to me, it's always nice when, especially with young kids, they're going out there, and I know we're tight on resources, if you can have face-to-face conversations. You know?
Yes.
And I know we had a program with the ISD with training firemen. How, did that work through? Did that fall through?
We're not, we don't have fire, that's a separate entity.
Yeah, we don't have fire. It's not with the city.
Okay.
We as being the city doesn't manage fire, that's the ESD too. And they have a great program with the school district.
Right. So I was just gonna ask about the status of that and how successful it is.
And we did just recently really promote to our current employees who were interested in becoming police cadets to go through the academy. So we have 2 current employees who in October will be going to the police academy to further their careers. Total career change for 2 of them. So we are looking within too for some of our programs and for opportunities.
Okay, so I have a question going back to talking about, I guess, jobs within the city. You mentioned, it's been mentioned that y'all are having issues with recruiting specifically engineers. And when you mention like the city is still competitive, I feel like competitive is used as a buzzword a lot because a lot of jobs say that they're competitive. What about Pflugerville specifically makes them competitive in regards to like engineering? And I'm speaking from personal experience because my wife is a water resources engineer, and when she was graduating and looking for jobs, she wanted to work for this, in the public sector in general, but simply they just couldn't price match the private sector, and that's at the end of the day. And then ironically, she got contracted to work consulting for a different city because they can't afford to find other engineers as well. So even though they're having issues finding engineers, they're spending more money hiring consultants. So I'm wondering what about Pflugerville is competitive in regards to trying to fill these engineering spots?
Question.
I don't know if I had the answer to that.
So let me use the word competitive differently. The pay may be similar. But right now, if I drove you out, and I'm happy to take you to our public works location, it is the most horrendous facilities that you can put human beings in. Our facilities are shoving people in closets. We are not competitive when it comes to that.
Okay.
That's
Like,
true.
so millennials don't want to work in that environment. I
Well,
don't
you know
wanna
what,
work in that
neither do
environment.
boomers.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a calling. Sometimes it's a calling to public service. Sometimes it's somebody who's retired and just thinks, you have really, when we did our assistant city manager search recently, we had candidates from Florida, Seattle, the Valley, Tennessee. I believe there was only one local candidate in our final round of interviews for our assistant city manager position. And most of them said they're excited about what's happening here. They go online and they read our capital improvement project plan, and the work excites them. So there's a piece of that too, that someone who is intrinsically motivated by those types of things versus just straight money. Like, this is what I want to do. I want to do public service and I want to work on these projects. So that's part of it. But no, we're not competitive yet. We're struggling in that area.
So is teleworking not having any effect on regards to just office space? Because I imagine like having that, you would imagine it would reduce the need for office space. So is it just you're just meeting at capacity despite having telework?
Correct. That's
Okay.
correct. We recently converted our.
We have 3 people in an office. It's horrific. I'd love to tour you to see. So even with telework, I still have to have human beings working. So I purposely am hiring people with no space. I don't have an office for them. To be real frank, they have to telework because I don't have a place to put them.
Is this,
Serena,
is this because of we have just grown so fast, or is it just, I mean, I know what a lot of the issues are, but,
We need space.
we need space.
We need space.
And
A lot of
luckily-
reasons for it, but
Yeah, and part of that, well, we are getting a city hall,
Right.
so
that
that would be
gonna help?
nice. Is that gonna help?
yes.
Yes.
I really, if y'all wanted to ever see it, I literally walked in City Hall the other day, looked in an office where 4 human beings are crammed in there like sardines, and, I don't have an office right now, actually, it's a long story.
How can we attract the best?
So, thank you, those are great questions. So we're working towards a solution on that, and I'm looking at these employees going, how are they not on Indeed.com while they're at work looking for a job? And so we hope that we do all these other great things for them, right? But it's not pretty.
So would you say the steps the city is currently taking, is it enough, or is there much more to be desired?
For what, which piece, I'm sorry?
I guess in regard to either like office space or just among other benefits.
So council's moved rapidly. In October of this last year, I did ask if we could buy the 29 acres of property. We closed on 29 acres within 6 weeks. We immediately went and got a team together of really great experts. I'm putting out an RFQ on the street in the next 2 weeks to get a master developer for that property. From that master developer, we will develop a city hall, et cetera. So actually, that's pretty fast compared to what some people might think, but it's moving in a speed to get it. But let's be frank, we're not walking into that building for 3 years.
Yeah. So would you say like it's sufficient, or is it just kind of like kicking the can down the road at this point?
I would say when this happened before this council was kicking the can.
Okay.
That's what, I think we're working as
Taking
a
action.
product of that. So this council's doing the right things. It just takes time.
Now, does cultural, you're talking about institutional change.
It's just-
It's been happening in the last 5 years for sure, and it just takes
I agree.
time. So, but I'm glad that we have the leadership in place, from the council to all of you guys.
So aside from office space, what other challenges would you say that you're currently facing?
I mean, we're just constantly watching the compensation. I feel like we've gotten our benefits to a very competitive place in terms of medical and what we cover, medical, dental, what we cover in terms of dependent coverage. We look at leave, we look at the whole compensation package, to really attract people. The telework, the flexible scheduling, anything is really on the table. So we are filling our positions. Some are harder than others, but then, we lose people too to attrition or to some people decided, you know what, I'm cashing in on this crazy housing market and I'm going to raise bees in Missouri. True story. That happened. I'm buying land, I'm paying cash for it, and I'm going to raise bees. So we are bringing them in, but we lose them at the same time too. So it's just a constant battle. I don't think we'll ever be there. It's a work in progress.
So whenever employees are doing their exit interviews, what are some of the common things that pop up on why they're leaving?
We really have an in-depth interview for our exit interview. We ask a lot of questions about their supervisor and kind of what resources were they given, did they have reviews, were they able to give feedback to their supervisor. We ask about their relationships with their coworkers. We ask them if they were, treated fairly. Then we ask several questions about the benefit packages. We ask them about where they're going and why they're going there. So again, if I had a nice little printout of, a little statistical pie charts and whatnot from our exit interview, I would share it, but they're really more in-depth and qualitative data. So we see just as you would expect, a lot of reasons. Sometimes people leave as supervisor. Sometimes they just are getting offered $3 more an hour and
Or 30,000.
Yeah. Sometimes the money is just too much to overcome. I love Pflugerville. I love the culture. I would come back, but I got to take this right now because it's hot. So we see a wide variety. And about 10% of our turnover right now is retirement.
Would it be much to add to request maybe some of those statistics or data? Or is it, or that a bit? Yes.
Oh, we can give you turnover. Yeah, just the exit interview is more
Yeah,
qualitative
personal,
and names and so that would be more difficult. But yeah,
But you could do some
Do you
kind
know
of
your
Yeah.
rate?
analysis of it to see how much is this, that, or the other
sure.
without names.
Turnover right now we're about 24%.
Oh, my, that sounds high.
I think that is actually reflective of what.
It is.
Yeah.
Some places are
It's
reporting.
unusual.
Exactly.
We're at 30 where I work.
Yeah, so it's, and
It's
at
a
one
great
point we were at
call.
about 19, so then there's, the summer is usually a big time for retirements as well. That was my experience with the state. It has.
It's a new world, I'm retired.
It is, and some of it is, we're growing, we're changing, we're putting in new systems, and some people don't want to be part of that. They're not ready for that change, or they're ready to say, I'm done. So not all turnover is bad turnover. Some of those, that includes, involuntary. Sometimes we do ask people to not come back. We would like to see that number come down, certainly, but as Serena said, national average is, you can see stats from 40 to 55%.
40 to 55%.
It is they call it the great resignation.
I keep hearing about, what is it, slow quitting? That's the whole.
That's another thing.
Quiet
No, that's when
quitting.
they're not
Quiet
quitting.
that's what it
You
is,
do
quiet
bare
quitting.
minimum.
And that's when you're just barely doing your
They
job.
just like-
I finally.
Is that on all jobs, or is that particularly relative to government jobs?
No,
All
it-
jobs.
It's all
All
depends.
jobs.
Quiet
And,
quitting?
Quiet quitting.
and quiet quitting is
It's a
just
totally different
expanded. It is not new.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
With
That
the
was
state-
always
It is
there.
not new.
And when I went
They
to
have
bed,
always been
I was gonna say,
underperforming.
when I read what it was, it's like, it's always been around.
Everybody knows somebody.
Yeah.
We called it retiring in place with the
Yeah,
state.
retiring in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
So,
other questions that I can answer for you?
I had,
Very brief.
you're out of your quota of questions. Just kidding. I'm really impressed with the idea of the apprenticeship, so kudos on that. I think it's
Yes.
fantastic to focus on skilled trades. I think there's a way undervalue and undersupply of that in Texas and across the US. So I think
Absolutely.
a wonderful selling point would be like, you don't have to spend your whole career at the city of Pflugerville, but it could be a wonderful place to start, right? And build
Yes.
your skills. Because some of those jobs, electricians, my father's a master electrician, and so I know they can make a lot of money, and they're in high demand increasingly.
Absolutely.
Because the supply is so low. The only other, I guess, suggestion I would have, and, take it with a grain of salt, knowing that you're a 4-person team, but something we do where I'm at is like looking at pay equity. So, for a comparable job, same level, same factors of years of experience, education, what have you, are people paid comparatively? Or are there other things that maybe are influencing pay that shouldn't, right? Our biases sneaking into the pay decisions. So any pay equity analysis that could be incorporated in the future would be awesome.
That is great.
Yeah, that was my main recommendation. Yeah, or even looking at things like rates of promotion, right? Like, are men getting all the promotions
Yes.
versus women? Is there, can we explain that objectively with data, or what's going on there?
Seems to me that if we had all this data compiled very neatly, you could request members of this commission to volunteer to go to colleges to go recruit.
Yeah, I'll go with per diem and hotel of my choosing.
I'll go for free.
Oh, no, it won't be
I'm
until
sitting here
6.
quietly. You're volunteering me for something, for what? For something.
So I have another point of like an inquiry. I guess if you were to create I know might be, it's definitely larger than this, but if you were to create like, let's say a wish list of like top 3 things you might want to request from the council or the city, what would you say that you would want to ask
Great
for?
question.
Time. I mean, because honestly, they have given us everything else we've asked for. When you talk about pay equity, that really is what led to our cost of living increases at the mid-year, because we were finding what we had to pay to attract people. We were very, conscious of, well, we cannot bring in people higher than where our people already are. One, we don't want to lose them to somewhere else, but it's just not right to bring someone in at a higher rate than they've been here. So I'd say pay equity is very important. But yes, it really is just having all the people to do all the things with Victor. We have some really great projects in the works. Our systems are being improved. Our benefits package has been on the increase every year, and hopefully, when we come back, we have an RFP out right now for our health and prescription benefits. I think if we just maintain and continue to improve in all of those areas, we'll do good. But the thing right now is just people. Every department is, I think, feeling the space and the people crunch. And time is the only thing we can't make more of.
Any other questions?
Good presentation, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Robbie is so impressive. I'll tell you all that this has been a game changer for the city of Pflugerville, for our people. It's a real game changer.
Well, it's part of that institutional change that I know you guys have been working on as a council and in your department, Serena. It's been very impressive. Thank you very much.
It's a great place to be. I'm very, very
A lot
happy
of
to be
cultural
here.
change, which is needed.
Thank you so much for coming to speak with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, and I will take your suggestions. And I hope next year I'll have a brand new fancy Cadillac system that where reporting is a little better than me calculating spreadsheets in my notebook.
Well,
here,
as long
so-
as you're not in a Yugo. I used to say when I would write proposals, I'm going to ask for a Cadillac, pray for a Buick, and hope they don't give me a Yugo.
Yeah. Some of our stuff is still held together with duct tape, but we're
Oh
getting
my
there.
goodness. You deserve better for the work you're doing.
We're getting it. We are getting it. It just takes
We've
time.
got a good leader.
At your office.
Oh gosh, June to last Thursday.
Oh, you're kidding me. Where are you
didn't have
officed? Where's she
AC.
officed?
City
my
Hall East. Well, I mean, it's not any fault. It just took that long for the unit to come in. One unit, I think, out of 3.
It's not
Well,
that
did they
they're
get
doing
you a
it,
window
it's
unit?
We tried lots of solutions, including a swamp cooler and multiple.
Work from home.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
we
I was gonna say, she can come work
would
at
have
my
somebody in the
house.
office each morning until it hit about 84, 85, and then we would
Oh,
then we
yeah.
would telework. And
Especially
so
during that time.
it
Oh, my
was but
goodness.
now we're at a comfortable 72, which is very nice. It just took a while for the parts and the unit to come in.
Thanks for your patience.
Yeah, well, thank you for everything. Good work in addressing the issues that,
Thank
Very,
you.
very,
We
very,
really,
very
when we
impressed.
see something, our leadership is not afraid of change, and we're not afraid to pivot and do the right thing and think about things in a different way when somebody
the
brings
only
suggestions
thing that's
to light.
constant is,
Change. Exactly.
so that's the way it goes. Okay.
Thank you.
You're here.
Thank you very, very much. Our next agenda item 3C, we'll move on to that. Discuss and consider action regarding Equity Commission members' presence at other events and organizations, and this is brought by Virginia.
I I think just a real short thing, but I think that every time members of the Equity Commission are asked to speak or who volunteer to speak at different groups, it would be nice if that would be if the other members of the commission would be notified before that happens, so that if they have input that they would like to give, it can be included in what that person gives. Did I make sense?
It makes sense. Context, though, I mean, for example, I was asked to be on a panel for PCDC, and I didn't see that I needed to report that per se. I was just invited by, which is a branch of the city, to participate in a panel as the chair of the Equity Commission, me along with Councilman Mateer, and there was someone from a city, like looking at diversity and whatnot in business and whatnot. And it was a city function.
Well, there are times that someone might go before a particular group, and there might be somebody on the commission that really has very strong feelings about something involving that group, or that group should know, and this is an opportunity to then tell the person who's going to be speaking or on the panel or whatever about that issue and talk to them and give them an opportunity to do it. It's just another way of utilizing our networking within the commission to make it more effective, to make each of us more effective when we go.
I know that we're going to start a series of listening. That's actually what is going to be on the agenda for next month, is we're going to start going through, listen, because our whole thing for next year, one of our big points for next year is to be having listening sessions with the community and whatnot. And so I think that everyone that's on the commission at that point in time will be asking to do different groups, because I don't see us always being able to everyone be everywhere all the time, and we won't just be doing it at these meetings. This would be where we'd be more talking about the data we're collecting. So I do think that I would trust anyone in this room to be able to go and do that with, we can talk about how it's done, and everything, but I think that
It wasn't so much a matter of trusting as of expanding that person's capacity.
No, I understand. I may have said that wrong.
If I may interject, I hear what you're saying, Virginia, and I understand that concern, but many times these invitations don't allow for that, because it's not our party. It's like somebody here has been invited specifically. So it's like whoever's throwing the party gets to make those rules and those choices.
But to that point, should any of us be able to accept that invite unilaterally? Or is that reserved to, like, the president, or,
Yes,
like,
yes.
I can see Pat, like, being invited and speaking versus, like, I'm invited, I'm not an officer of this commission, I'm on the commission, right? But maybe it would be wise for you all to see what I'm planning to say, because maybe you want to make what I'm going to say better and more representative of the group. That's kind of what I'm hearing, Virginia. And I think from Pat's perspective, I can totally see Pat and her capacity as a president maybe doesn't need that kind of oversight or review, but maybe you do want that on a member like me.
I think we should discuss that, the need for maybe some sort of parameters.
And
well, for example, whenever I was talking at the
You know,
PCDC, I talked about the pillars. I talked about what are the basics of the Equity Commission, what the goals of the Equity Commission are, what some of the values that have come out of it, just explaining what equity means, the things that we talk about here all the time, which I would honestly think anyone sitting at this table is capable of doing.
Yeah, but I think that the position of chair comes with
Well, that's
other
why you get the invite, exactly.
Yeah.
I, same
with
thing,
those
a couple of times, same
responsibilities.
thing happened with P and Z when I was chair. I mean, and so these little things, they come up. When I've been as chair of a religious practices committee up in Richardson ISD, I would get, that's another story, I would get invitations to come and speak as the chair of the religious practices committee. So, I think chairs get those invites from time to time with the,
I don't think it's a bad idea not trying to argue with anyone, but it wouldn't be a bad idea for the committee to know when one of us is gonna be, like, presenting, because we were invited as a representative of the commission.
And I think that's something that's always been in place. I know that when Pat and I were very interested in the Pflugerville ISD board space, I wrote a letter. I was unable to attend, but I wrote that letter as a private citizen, not as a part of this commission, because we had not met as a part of this commission to discuss speaking on that in that forum. So I agree, but I don't think any of us should just, hey, I don't go out saying, hey, I'm over the Pflugerville Equity, I'm vice chair of the Pflugerville Equity Commission. That's not my lead in. If you ask me about it one-on-one, I'll tell you, but I don't want to get publicly and have that conversation unless, like I had it with with Black Pflugerville, but that was because Pat and the group said, hey, this is what we're going to do. So I just think we need to, because it does what you says. It allows everybody to come in, get all ideas on the table, and now we know what, and not only that, we can actively go and support. Because when I spoke, Claudia, you were there.
Yeah.
Right.
Or when you spoke, like, I went to the PCDC, but I found out because I, like, stumbled on it, right? Like, it would have been nice for us, like, oh, let's go support
I think
that.
that particular thing, everyone stumbled. With like whenever I did the PCDC thing, that was advertised for weeks with my name on it, from the city. It was on Key to the City and all that stuff, that I was on that panel.
True confessions. I identified myself as serving on this commission this weekend, but for this purpose. I met this incredible person in charge of this incredible organization, and I said, well, my name is Ana Pomar, and I'm on the Equity Commission. How can you help us, and what can you do for us? And that was it.
I think that's important. I think that we should be voices in the community. I think if it's a formal request, this is really going to be something for all of you to decide. I have told Jennifer not to say this to anyone, but I won't be on the commission next year. It is time for me to take some time with my husband and do some traveling and some things that he and I were supposed to do this year, and we didn't. So, and for a variety of reasons because of me, and I have promised him more time. But, so this would be for all of you to decide. But I do think when you're out in the community and you have that opportunity to be an emissary for the city and about the great things that Pflugerville is doing, and one of the greatest things they've done in the last couple of years is this commission. I think it's very important that you're a voice for that. In the same way that, even while she is like official, when Serena's out, she's advocating for the city at all points and times. Pflugerville is a great place to live. It's got all of these wonderful things going on. And guess what, guys? One of the things that's really great when you're trying to talk young people into coming here is they have an equity commission. And suppose you're in a situation where you're around a lot of young people, and you're around a lot of young people who are not always sought or recognized or whatever, and you're able to say, this is a city that values that, and that's your one shot. I can't run to all of you and tell you what I'm going to say in that situation. And I'm going to be I would be advocating to be a mouthpiece for my community in that regard, because I see this as one of the most valuable things that's occurred.
But that's more of I would perceive that more as an informal, like, conversation, right? Just right.
And I'm in a lot of situations like that.
Right, but if it's more of a public forum where there's an invitation, where it's open to the community, right, I think, being aware that, if you're going to that, to speak to that, at it, then, yeah, I think we should be aware.
Okay. So if you're speaking at a public forum, and one of the credentials, one of the things that you say is that you also serve on the Equity Commission. That's all you say.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just in that.
Yeah, that's right.
And just as a point of order, if y'all ever want to go back and enhance sleep tonight, we did a code of conduct for y'all, and there,
Oh.
it does address a little bit. We gave it to you like on your first day, and.
Oh, I never got that.
Oh, wait, yeah, so the code of conduct, and you can do a quick Google search, code of conduct, city of Pflugerville, and it addresses it a little bit, but really the spirit of it is that you wouldn't go to a news channel and say, I am on the committee and we believe X.
You're representing.
Yeah, so how you represent. We also really believe that the committee members should you talk freely about what you already have done. That's fine, that's all public information. What you're going to do is where you want to be a little cautious. Because you don't want to represent the board in an unfair way. So the code of conduct is about, it applies to city council equally as it does to you.
Well said.
But I think that, like if it's a public forum, I mean, if it's something that someone's invited to, and it might be a good thing, I would throw this out there for all of you who are here in the future, that you have a rotation, like if these things come up, okay, it's your turn, it's your turn, it's your turn, it's your turn, so it doesn't just fall on one person. You're all articulate in this area at this point in time. Anyone could serve as chair of this commission at any point in time. This girl's been here and this guy's been here since the beginning. Either one of them for certainly could. So I think that maybe set up a schedule and things come up, it's your turn. And if you don't want it, you bump it to the next. I'm just throwing that out there.
If we wanted to maybe have a little bit more prescriptive guidance around these specific scenarios, is that something that has to go back to the council to approve under the code of conduct, or could we just develop that ourselves and say this is our little operating procedure for these scenarios?
I've never thought of that. Do you have a comment, Jennifer?
Oh, I would just say that would fall under procedure.
Yeah, I think you, yeah.
So I think
But
they-
take a look at the code of conduct. It may be loosely
Is that
fitting in
something
there.
somewhere that I?
Yeah, I literally just
Okay.
Googled it.
Okay, we'll do.
It's
But,
the same as every other.
Jennifer will send it to you, code
Okay.
of conduct. yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so it's the one that's applicable to the whole city?
Yes, every board.
So there's not a specific one for this commission, okay?
So when you say loose, sorry.
It's like,
I'm so arrogant, I didn't know it applied to
That
me.
means like any other more detailed procedure, as long as it's consistent
Well,
with that,
nothing
doesn't
much
have to
applies
go,
to
but
you.
it works for us.
I just figured, oh, it's just employees.
Okay,
If it conflicts something, we would.
right.
Okay. Okay, well then, so we'll say yes, we can agree to that, if we're invited, if there's somewhere where someone's invited and whatnot, and,
I can take the action to write something up for us to review.
well, why don't you do that, and we'll put that on the October agenda as well, okay, Jennifer, that might be a good idea.
I have
'Cause-
a request for the agendas moving forward. It just helps me. But we've set this framework up of operating under these pillars. So it would be nice as we have discussions or as we have action items, they're listed under a pillar.
pillar, I like
It
that.
allows us to quickly grab them and summarize what we've done in that
Capture
pillar.
him into
For
Right.
reporting purposes.
I don't know that I could do it on the official agenda because there's a consistency that they have to have. But I could bring a supplemental thing that says this addresses this pillar.
Or parentheses at the back of each item, pillar.
Let me ask the city secretary. I don't know all the rules.
We're very strict, sorry.
Yes.
But at least for a historical collection, like this, like you said, maybe a side drawer there or something, because the report, when that report has to be done next February, it would be very helpful to say, it's because like when we go back to the county judge and we were talking about, that's under social equity and everything, and this would have been under.
Possibly be something that's
the
in
things that the purchasing
the subhead
Yeah.
underneath the item.
I think
But
they
I'll
got-
ask Trista.
Because we've talked to a lot of entities and gotten a lot of information about this city, which makes it a much more vibrant report next time around. We've learned a lot. And it needs to be
I feel really
categorized.
uncomfortable when we ask employees to do more. Wouldn't it be easier if we as a commission at these meetings would say, okay, this would be pillar what, and then we identified the items
Well,
ourselves?
this would be economic. What we talked about today is economic equity mostly, wouldn't you say, because it's HR? I mean, economic and
I would
also,
say-
what else, social, I mean,
I would say
governance, yeah, governance, it kind of falls under several, yeah,
How about I
governance.
put it in the minutes?
There you go.
Okay,
Put it in the minutes.
that's a good idea.
Okay,
That's a
good
great idea, yeah. And from now on, what we talk about, start making for sure that it's mentioned in the meeting, this goes under pillar blah, blah.
Well, also what I wanted to do, and it's great that we put it in the minutes so we can capture it after the fact, but I think it also helps us to weed out, for lack of a better word, the minutia of things we talk about. We don't do it a lot, but I think that if we start asking up front, okay, this is what we want to talk about, what pillar does it fall under? And if it doesn't fall under pillar, well, why are we talking about it?
Streamline.
That's just the way my mind works.
I will work out a couple of things and send them for approval before the next meeting. Did you want to talk about future agenda?
No, but I want you to send those out.
I did. I
Okay.
handed it to everybody
Okay,
tonight.
yeah, those, because that's not on the agenda.
It is not. It would
And
be
so-
on next
and it's
month's
also,
agenda.
and so I'm going to say that we will take those with you guys, because Jennifer was gracious enough to put those
It's
together.
accomplishments, and then it is, because you're gonna be coming up for the, update to the council, so I listed your accomplishments. I can go
And
in
we should
then
go
and
through
do the
that, and do
goals.
we should do that with the pillars as well.
Yeah, I'll do the pillars, and then underneath that, there were a couple of action items you guys talked about over the last year that you wanted to address to council during this update, so I put those on there. And then I put just, like an outline of how we could work towards those listening sessions.
Yeah, and I would like to ask everyone to look over that and add anything that you think of, because this would be, and maybe we can we can go through the minutes from the meetings across the year,
I'm glad to see you back.
and add anything into this, because this will help greatly in the next report to council. And it also helps figure out what we still need to be looking at. Okay?
Another point, for our next meeting, two things we said we were going to do. Number one, we were gonna meet quarterly with Judge Brown and Commissioner Trevelyan.
That's on me.
Yeah.
They're very busy in a political, Judge Brown's running for office, and
Yeah.
She's
I've reached out.
the past few
So
months.
we've had an inability. I'll tell Andy to get here in November if I can,
And
okay?
if
Maybe we
I-
should just move that to January,
Maybe, yeah.
after the political season.
He'd probably come in November, he's done then.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
He's Judge.
Trevelyan's right up the street. Let's bring
There's
some
no
food,
reason.
we'll get him here.
Don't get me
Bring
started.
some
on
food, we'll
Trevelyan.
get him here. But, that was one thing. And then the other deal is that we were going to get an update on the, on the use of the Pflugerville, bus system. We haven't gotten that, so it'd be nice to kind of
Sounds like we've
know
got our
how
November agenda.
that has rolled out,
I like that.
to see where we are there.
But do we meet in December?
My
No, we
understanding
tried.
is that the current system has been canceled.
No, it's going.
Still go.
Still going. I saw it this morning, I was,
Well,
Yeah, I saw the graphic on the way here.
cancellation date.
No?
It was
There's a-
extended to some date.
Where was I? And it was dark outside and I saw it, but it was like really early in the morning. Where was I?
Yeah.
I mean,
They're on my block.
yeah,
They picked
I mean,
it
I
up.
was very impressed to see it.
Uber or something.
Oh, that's.
Oh, I know, I was going to the dentist early this morning and there it was, and it was still almost dark. Sorry.
Saw it on my way over here.
Okay, guys, we're way in if we don't have any more agenda items and any more discussion, I'm gonna,
Adjourn.
we're going to adjourn, yeah. We can.
Kudos, just wanted to give kudos to the young lady who is the Pflugerville Democratic Chair for bringing Beto O'Rourke here. It was a fabulous job. It doesn't matter your political affiliations. I think when you bring somebody in here to Pflugerville running for governor, it is a great deal. So want to give that party their congrats also. Pflugerville Police Department did an outstanding job. There were no incidents.
Well, where's those little ladies trying to get in that door?
Well, there was one guy who was going back and forth with another guy, and they got kind of loud. And I looked around, and I was like, man, these are the most in-shape citizens just lingering around him that I have ever seen just at a political event. And I'm like, man, I work out, but man, these guys are looking young and fit. I didn't know they were that politically active, and then little bird told me, no, they're undercover.
Yeah, okay, we're adjourned. This is, many thanks. Okay, we are adjourned. We can talk about anything we want to now. Okay.